down.
Cuties, it's your girl Kpcutie with another video today, and I'm gonna do like a kind of like a podcast, real tea, real talk with me and my family, the Tea Gang. Today I am joined by the lovely Chenelle New, Abby New, and the handsome and awesome Psyowolf. If you guys want to know where their channels is linked down in the description box below to go check them out. And yeah, let's get started with today's topic, which is
adult toddlers.
toddlers.
What you say? Go back to what you were saying.
Oh, adults acting like teenagers, but they're actually toddlers.
Right. So instead of looking at them as if they're you can't look at them as if they're teenagers, because teenagers have the understanding of basic necessities. They understand if you go to the store, you got to buy something.
Yeah.
They understand that you can't let little kids run out in the street and be by themselves. Somebody has to take care of them. They understand manners and stuff of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're dealing with adults that are unhinged, that's what we'll call them, they do stuff like toddlers. And going back to explain the separate groups in a clothing aspect, you have kids, because people be like, how you consider it to be adult to be a toddler? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But children that are wearing shirts that have the 2T, 3T, 4T, 5T, and then I think it goes like 6T, and then from 6T it goes 7-8, 9-10, 11-12. After you hit the 12 mark, I think you have some 13, 14s. And then 15, 16s. But I think they kind of cut it off around that 13 range. And they start doing single digits on the clothing, right? When you go from 12 years old, you are 13. So you were what? Teenager?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because 12 is preteen, right?
Yes.
So they're still in the clothing that are dashes. But then you have the single digits, 13. This is when you start to think like an individual. You start to understand that I am my own person. That's when y'all start to have the buck in your system and be like, I'm a teenager. You know how y'all be like, that's when you have your identity formed.
Right.
These adults don't have their identity formed. They never get out of the T stages, because those children between 2 to 6 identify with brother, sister, family, parent, grandma. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my grandma. But they don't realize they're an individual. And those adults that act erratic are not responding from an individual stance. They don't respond as a mother and a father. They respond as, this my family, right? Ain't that what they first did? That's my family. Ain't that what he was arguing about? This my family. I wasn't just a boyfriend. It's like, okay, but either way, we ain't together. Like, sir, move on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they're not able to identify as being an individual. They have to be a part of something. That's why they quickly, if you notice, like, you can call them narcissistic or whatever you want to call them, but if you really want to just break it down, those individuals cannot identify outside of being a group. That's why they move on to relationships. What is the first thing they do? They try to go get a new family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have that built-in family because they need to jump start it. That's why you'll see those individuals always get with somebody that got kids already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they're toddlers. They're not adults, because adults understand that people break up, people move on, situations don't always work out, and they're able to maturely move on. But individuals that act like they do, they're still in their toddler stage, because what they do, I'm gonna take my ball, I'm gonna go home. But when you become, even the ones that's in the dashes, the like 7 to 8, 9, 10,
Yeah.
those individuals, and I think they have like the 5 to 6. You have some kids that wear 5-6. those individuals understand that, y'all playing with the ball, but when you get done with the ball, can you please bring it back, because that's my ball. But the ones, and you'll notice that some kids during those stages between 5 to 12 those are the ones that mature later on in life, because they be like, give me my ball. Like, our neighbor, he be like, that's mine, and they snap real quick. That's because they don't have the concept of other people have feelings, other people are involved. Like, for y'all for existence, or as a reference point, when you look at y'all already have that dynamic built into your life because you have siblings. You know what I'm saying? So you got to identify with, okay, I'm going to play with the ball. And since I'm mad with you, you can play with the ball from this time to this time. But this time to this time, I'm going to play with the ball. Or even though y'all may be mad with each other, y'all all still fix each other a plate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But those toddlers, when they go get their bottle, they ain't think about the little newborn baby need a bottle too. They like, I'm finna sit here and drink my bottle of my juice.
Makes sense, because when I worked at McDonald's, a lot of people there don't have a good connection with their siblings, because when there was a conversation that popped up where they had, like, did they ever share stuff with their siblings?
They never shared.
No.
They never even they didn't even understand the meaning of sharing.
Yeah, they'd be like, why?
Why do I have to give to her, or why do I have to share the time with my mom with her, or even with
because the parent never steps in and forces that upon them. With y'all, it was like, what, y'all ain't sharing? Well, ain't nobody finna have it. And y'all be like, well, we ain't finna go tell, because what I quickly do, I take it from everybody. Everybody's punished, even the person that told, even if they was in the right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everyone gets the same.
Yeah.
You like, yep. But you gotta also remember, they're raised by toddlers. So guess what happens with them? They still remain a toddler because you don't know no better. Some of them that are raised by toddlers, I was raised by toddlers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now I have my way, but I also had influences by others that were more mature, because their parents forced that dynamic upon them. Like, yo, you can't be doing this. Them your siblings. Or some people just are naturally like that. That's when you'll branch off to the chosen ones, because they already naturally know that I have a purpose. Let me come here and do this purpose. I can't sit here and be like doing what I want to do. I have to think about others, consider others, but I also have to make sure I take care of myself too. So you have those. It's just, it's layers to it. But just to break down the toddler aspect of adults, that's what it is. They're toddlers. They're not even children.
Understood.
Their brains cannot be developed to the point that they understand. Like how y'all was like, well, why do they think they don't have to take care of us or see us or come around? Because they still worry about self and how to get what they lost. Because a toddler ain't sitting there worrying about, well, I gotta go get money so I can go and buy me another ball. They be like, well, I want a ball, so let me take your ball. And that's how they do. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because the fact that they can't think past myself or what I want. They can't think about, oh, maybe such. Maybe we'll say Christine, she wants to share chocolate with you, and it's like, nah, I'm gonna take the whole chocolate bar from you. It's mine. You're not.
And what they say, mine's.
Instead of thinking that sharing is caring. And
Right.
They lack compassion for others.
They don't. It's not that they even lack compassion. They don't have, their brains can't form the ideology of understanding compassion in itself, because they're not chemically balanced to be able to develop that part of the brain. Like, if you really want to get scientific about it, that's what it really be. Like, they don't have something to stimulate. Like with them, he over here now being forced to stand on business, if we can use that. Like, he understand, like, whoa, now this is changing the chemical imbalance in him, to now he's like, whoa, what do you mean you're done? This ain't over till I say it's over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, you don't understand what she said, but I'm going to also come in and I'm going to reinforce what she said because I'm saying the same thing to you. And then he's like, okay, well, what about the other kid? And then when they didn't respond back, then he got mad. It's back to, give me my ball. Y'all ain't going to say nothing to me? Well, fine. And then he just has his temper tantrums. But if nobody's responding, it's just like when y'all used to throw temper tantrums. You throw your temper tantrum and I would just stand there in the store and let you throw it. And people be like, you're not going to say nothing? No response is a response.
Yeah.
I used to just sit there and look at you, throw your temper tantrum, and I'd be like, okay, now that you're done, you know that toy we was getting at the store, you going to go get yourself right in the car and we going to go home without no toy. And then when y'all would go back into the store, you be like, okay, I'm going to be good. And I'd be like, I'll tell you if you're going to get a toy or not. And no matter what, y'all knew not to throw a temper tantrum because there's action for your reaction. Some people didn't have that to form that part of their brain. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like how, for instance, you planted that seed in our heads to that every time we have a fit or we have fight or we fight amongst each other, there's a reaction for that consequence, and it's not just you who's suffering, it's that other person too. It making any sense.
It's not even about somebody else suffering. It's just letting you know in that moment that there's cause and effect. You caused this situation by throwing a temper tantrum, laying on the floor crying. So the effect of that is I'm not dealing with it. I have an option in this situation too. You think just because I came to the store to get, let's say, milk, that I'm gonna get my milk, but whatever you thought you was finna get in the store, you're not gonna get. You're still gonna go to the car no matter how much you threw that temper tantrum, and you're gonna be without. So even though you threw that temper tantrum, you still don't have what you want. So now you've wasted and exerted all your energy to get nothing when you could have chilled out and then we could have went and got what you want. But just because, you ever notice like some kids, they'll be like, no, we're not going over there just yet. That tells that kid like, we gonna go, but I want to go right now. So to make them go right now, I'm gonna throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're not finna throw no temper tantrum and we go later. And I explained to you that we're going, but we're going later. And you want to throw your temper tantrum, we ain't going at all. And that's how you have to be with those type of adults. You have to, no matter how hard it is or how much it may affect you in the process, you still have to stand on business. Because that's the only way they gonna learn. Like, if you think back, he's never had nobody stand up to him the way that I do. Like, for instance, his grandfather used to be like, you ain't coming over here if you gonna be acting like that. But if he be like, I ain't got nowhere to stay, they let him come. What they did this last time, they let him come. They might have treated him like he wasn't nothing, but he still ended up having a place to stay, and that's what he wanted in the first place. So
they gave in to the process, like how you were saying about kids throwing temper tantrum in the store. Most parents would be like, the Super Nanny show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? How she would be like, okay, when they start acting like this, don't pay them no attention, just let them be there and don't just walk away. And then you'll have some parents that will be like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And then it will be like 2 minutes, and then they'll be like, oh, I just have to. And then it restarts the whole entire process. But then there's other parents that's just like, okay. And they go on their phones or they go clean up something, and then the kid eventually calms down, and then the nanny will be like, all right, now go in there and go talk to them and tell them why that exactly happened or what's the consequences basically and stuff like that.
yeah.
And those kids would actually get better, but the kids that were the parents gave into the process,
It was the same from when she first got there. That's what it really be. That's just life. I think we get so caught up in the rapture of you're tall, your feet are big, you talk like this, you got face hair, or you know what I'm saying? This is, so that means that you have to be this. And it's like, no, it's still that little kid in that big old body. And you got to be for real with yourself and understand, identify with you're dealing with. And when you realize that's what you're dealing with, you have to treat it like you would any person that has that mental capacity.
Yeah, because it's kind of like what I did when we went there. Because I was like, I'm going to build them up. No. Knock them down. So, I get what you're saying about that.
But it does make sense because when someone's like in that mental state, you can't really be treating them like they're like a full-fledged adult because they're going to act like a child would. When they don't like something, they'll blatantly ignore you or will like cause a fit. And really no one got time. So I am using the wrong words, but what I'm saying is
You using how you
Perceive it.
Yeah, but you have to think, if you got a kid that's misbehaving, you just gonna not deal with them?
I am going.
But that's not what you're saying right now.
Yeah, that I felt like I used the wrong words.
But that's probably how you see it. You like, you a big kid. I ain't dealing with this. I get it.
I still feel like it's wrong in a certain way.
I mean, it is, because you would be that parent that says, okay, well, since you acting out of character, I'm gonna cut you off and you ain't gonna be in my will. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you have those parents that rule with the iron fist. And it's just like, sometimes you just let them throw their temper tantrum, like do whatever it is that they do. Let them do wrong. And then when they come back and it's like, you done? Okay, now, like she said, they come back later on and be like, now let's have this conversation. Because that teaches them, because you're still wanting them to think on the same level as you, but you're not understanding that it took you time to get to this point. So it's going to take other people time to get to that point. You're just not willing to deal with it, which is called a runner. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
First sign of disagreement, you running from the situation. You like, I'm done. Can't deal with it. It just births a whole different type of person. What? Not everything requires that you run from it. Just because they lay down in the middle of the floor and throw a temper tantrum, like, you gonna just leave the kid there on the floor? Nah. Just sit there and look at them and identify the behavior and be like, okay, so when you don't get what you want, you think this is how we supposed to act. Well, how about I don't give you nothing at all? I'm gonna stand here and not give you anything. Or let's say they snatch the ball from somebody else. No. Go over there and give them the ball back and give them a hug, since you want to be mean. Because even with adults, you could still set that precedent that, no, you're not going to be mean to me, and you going to learn to be nice. Like, for instance, let's say you get in an argument with your girlfriend and she's yelling and screaming. She's like, bah, 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 bah. If you can't talk to me respectfully, then let's not have this conversation at all. And you then walk away.
I see, but set the precedent of what needs to be said and then cause the action instead of just go and be like, immediately cause the action.
But what if you can't leave? Because that's still a runner, but if you're gonna run, at least let them know that don't talk to me like that. But what happens when you can't leave the situation? Y'all in the car, you driving down the road and she start yelling and screaming at you, cursing you out.
A silence is still a response, but as long as you say what you said, then silence.
Or silence is a response. You just go quiet on them and let them yell and scream all they want to yell and scream. Eventually they're gonna get tired of yelling by themselves. And when you have the moment, what?
So if we're doing this to you,
That don't be working. Because I'll be talking to myself.
yeah, but I'm just saying the situation, how you're explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, because I do that.
You be like, whatever, I'm done with this conversation. And I'll be like, fine, I'll have this conversation by myself.
Okay, you can have this conversation by yourself.
And you just she turn her head to the window, and I just keep on right on by myself. And then eventually I will calm down, and I'll be like, I see where you're coming from. I disagree, or sometimes I may agree. I'll be like, I see where you're coming from, and you're right. Or I might be like, I disagree, but I understand where your point. Sometimes you just have to let people come to their own conclusion about stuff, because they may not be saying it. Like, you just was like, how did you start this whole thing? Well, I was the one to say I'm done and I'm out.
Yep.
and I stood on it,
Yeah.
that would be how. But in your head, you was like, well, duh, that was the only obvious thing to do when you do X, Y, and Z. But that wasn't the question.
Yeah, the question was who started it. And it started because you were dumb.
Yep.
Everyone has parts to play in the situation. It's just how you choose to deal or do.
Or identifying what part you play. When you can identify, okay, I played this part in this situation, then you can assess it from that stance. But you can't just be like, I ain't did nothing. Well, you were there. Sometimes that's the part you played in it. You were just physically there. Because think about it. If somebody robbed a place, or like if you go in Walmart and somebody steal, you was there with that group while they was stealing. You still was there.
You may not have done the action, but you was there.
They be like, well, why you ain't let nobody know they was stealing? Because me, I'm going to walk and be like, hey, they bet that's stealing. I came in here with them. I ain't know that's what they came in here for. But I'm letting y'all know they stealing. I'm not going to jail with y'all.
Because they'll use this. He is guilty bias.
Yep.
In the day